This conference will now be recorded.
So now visit site. This is what I've come up with, and the colors don't matter. I mean, this right now is just the framework. But I'm going to try to come up with a turnkey WooCommerce and WordPress e-commerce system. Like if I wanted something, this one you have an online designer, so you can go in here and pick the color card that you want and go to customize, and then you can insert. Actually, my cache didn't catch back up. Let me go back
What
out.
what are you using for the designer? Is that a Loomis?
Fancy product designer. Let me try purple, customize. There we go. And then you can upload images, add text, curve it around. There's quite a few tools, add barcodes, that kind of stuff, and save your work and that kind of thing. So there's those built in, and then I've got a separate category for those. Same thing with the mugs. So you could just go pick your color of mug, and then go to customize, and then you can go in, and my colors aren't changing right. I'm still working on it, but it's got a host of stuff built in for newsletters and abandoned cart, and even stuff to manage your orders and do proofs and that kind of thing are all built into this thing. Quoting system. I mean, it's going to be the whole 9 yards. As turnkey as you can get and specific to laser, this vertical market. So, and then, the slider automatically updates every time you add a product. So, and you can sell digital files as well. So, and it's got order tracking. Oh, and it's got this. It has support tickets. So you can track your orders. You can create support tickets per product or whatever. So it's got a complete support solution built in it as well on the back end. Isn't that cool?
Not bad.
Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to do it though, because I hate doing websites. I got out of that for a reason. But if I can clone it and give it to somebody and say, here, now do what you want with it. Here's the basics. Here's the skeleton. I figure it'd be good. So, anywho, how's everybody? Cool. Chris, glad you could join us, man.
Hello, man. How you doing?
All right. Well, just right off, does anybody have any questions that are burning that they want to ask before we get carried away and get off tangent or anything?
Yeah, this is John. Got a couple questions.
Yeah, man.
Has anybody made, the phenolic plates that are like 2 layers, like let's say the top layer is a red and the second layer is a white, or vice versa? Has anybody
Yep.
made them on the laser? Like little
Talking
name
about like
tag.
the tiles and stuff.
Like
No,
Remark,
it's like a plastic, like you see.
it's Remark or Gemini.
Oh, the
Duet,
Gemini
some of
stuff.
those. 2-color board is what Thunder calls it in the materials list.
Okay.
I'm holding it up to the camera right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's 2-color board. It's black on top and white underneath.
Is there
Brian,
particular,
glad you could. Sorry, go ahead, John.
is there
Didn't mean to
particular
interrupt.
time to get it? I know you guys were talking about different plastics work good with the laser and some don't. A couple weeks back when I was listening, and is that a particular brand that works good, or?
This is ABS plastic. It's just a generic brand off Amazon called Excellent Tech. It's XLNTTECH.
Yeah, I saw it. I know what you're talking about.
The other one, I just got some samples from Gemini. Their stuff is amazing. If you want real quality 2-color board, I would look at Gemini, their Duets line. It's really good.
Yeah, either Gemini or the Romark is good
Yeah,
too.
I've never seen the Romark personally, but I just got the Gemini stuff. It's upstairs, or I'd show it to you. It engraves.
Gemini's the cat's meow. That's the good stuff to use.
Yeah, is it? Yeah. Oh my God, I'd love it. Like the cheap stuff, this cheap stuff from Amazon, when you engrave it, I don't know if you can see, but it curves it from the heat.
I got a friend that he works on the show. I work on
Gemini stuff doesn't do that.
for many years, and I'm looking into making labels for like motors on ships or bus boards on ships, and it's basically those little 2-tone tags. So they're only like going to be ½ inch wide by 2 inches long or 3 inches long or 1 inch wide or,
You
so I'm
you
just
may
curious how
consider anodized aluminum or anodized brass or something for that as well. That's really easy. It doesn't take a lot of power. You can do it really fast, and it's weather resistant and all that from the get go.
Okay, but the plastic's easy to cut? Not a big
Plastic's easy
deal?
to cut. You got to dial it in when you're engraving that stuff, or you'll be left with, a pink haze in the red, for instance. If the powder, gets laced in there and kind of gets homogeneous, you know what I mean? It can. So you got to get your air assist right and stuff like that. But once you dial it in, that stuff is so uniform. Once you dial it
Yeah.
in, you're pretty much it's repeatable. So you don't have to spend all your time dialing in.
Or you do 2 low power passes and one of them is just a nice cleanup pass. That works really well. In fact, one of the
Yeah.
duet samples that came specifically said like this needs 2 passes. It was a textured one, really neat sample.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. That was one of my questions. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about air assist. I've got a 20-gallon California Air that I hooked up to the system, and I don't have the smaller original compressor that came with the machine. I'm assuming that I can run it just with the one 20-gallon air compressor.
Correct.
When I set the pressure, should I use the gauge on the compressor, or should I use? I've got the the moisture. I don't know what you call that setup that.
Yeah, moisture trap and
Yeah,
secondary regulator.
Yeah. Is that
the way I run mine is I'll keep my Cali Air at about 80, and then I'll set the secondary to 55 or 50. I never go above 24, so I actually set mine about 30. But
Well,
up to 55. So
the
because you
biggest
still
thing
have
too
control
is
of it over the needle valves.
if your separator at your laser that has your regulator on it, if that only does 40 psi, you don't want your tank putting out more than 40 because you could blow the seals in that system. So whatever that's rated at, I wouldn't go above it because you'll damage it. And then, like Brian said, when you get it to the actual machine part, if you have 2 separate ones, then you would dial it down to whatever you want it for your settings.
Well, the
engrave or
secondary
cut.
regulator is external of the laser. So once you dial it down to 55 on your secondary, that's what the laser's seeing at the inlet is 55, not the 90.
No,
We're
but what
talking
I'm
about an
saying
external
is
regulator.
what I'm saying is if you have an external regulator at the tank, which some do, they'll have a tool pressure regulator and they'll have a tank gauge.
Yeah.
If you have a tank regulator, regulate that down to whatever your just below your max of whatever your secondary is at your machine. That's what I'm talking about, damaging that, because I've done that before. I've run it at like full bore from the compressor to something that only handles a max of 90, and I'm putting 120 to it and end up blowing the seals in it. So what I'm saying is from the tank, tone it down to the max of that, and then when you get to the secondary at your laser, then you could put it wherever you want for your engraving and cutting.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm looking at it now. I think
that secondary regulator should have a rating of at least 100 psi. So if you keep your
I was going to say
80,
it goes up to 140.
Yeah. So you're.
Okay.
I mean, so I would just keep my compressor, at around 80. I mean, if you drop it too low to what your actual pressure is, it's going to cycle a lot more, I think. So yeah, and that means more heat, especially on those small pistons. There's not a lot of surface area. It means a lot more condensation. So the less it cycles, the better.
Okay. So I shouldn't let the regulator go above 50.
The secondary regulator can't go above 55, otherwise you've exceeded the laser system pressure. So the only other critical measurement is what your secondary regulator can handle, and if it's made for shop accessories, it should handle 90 psi without even flinching.
Right.
So
Okay.
you don't need 90. I just like to get at least a 2 times, factor in there. That's why I usually go about 80. Set my secondary at 40 or something like that. You know what I mean? But and then,
So then
you
when
have
you're
granular.
when you're running, let's say I'm cutting a variety of materials. Do I use the regulator to change the air pressure, or is that something
I
that
don't. I
you don't?
don't.
Okay.
I use the needle valve. I use the controls on the laser you'll have granular control over those pressures by turning the
Okay.
knobs just like you would with the internal compressor. So that's where
Okay.
your adjustment comes in.
Does his
Okay.
laser have those?
Yeah.
I've got the 51. Yeah, it's got the control panel on
The layer
the
assist.
It's got
left
the
side
dual
there. Yeah.
assist? Okay.
Yep.
So I know
Yeah.
you bought it used, and I didn't remember if it actually had that dual air or not on it.
Yeah, I think it's mid 2020 manufacturer date.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got the maintenance board and everything on there.
Right.
So, mhm.
And I had a question for Travis. We were talking a couple of weeks ago about cutting and engraving leather.
Yep.
And I was under the impression that you couldn't cut any kind of chromium tanned leather, but I think you said something that there were exceptions to that, and I was curious as to what they were.
There are exceptions to that. I tell everybody if it's chrome tan leather, just keep it off your laser, because unless you know exactly what you're doing and how that leather was processed, the chances of you getting something that's not going to be compatible is very high.
It's
Okay.
easier to say no.
So you can't, yeah. So you can do chrome, but a lot of it has to do with if it's a U.S. based company that chromed the leather, chances are you'll be okay. But most of the chrome leather comes from overseas, and they do a really bad job of post processing and rinsing the chemicals out of it.
Right.
And so it traps a ton of formaldehyde and all sorts of other nasty stuff inside the leather.
And so
Well, I've set up accounts with
Sorry, is the concern there breathing those in or venting those out to the environment, or all the above?
All of the above, and also it actually killing your laser. Some of those will produce chlorine gas, depending on what type of chroming solution they used. It can produce chlorine gas, which will actually eat the inside of your laser.
Yeah. I've
In
seen
like,
pictures of that.
yeah,
Snake.
in like
I
a day.
think reflectivity may have a little bit to do with it too. If I'm not mistaken, you really got to pour the powder to get through it because of the reflectivity. For some
So
reason,
it depends on how it's finished. You know, there's so many variables on chrome leather. Usually I just tell people stay away from chrome leather. It's like the cheap bottom barrel leather that you can get. You don't want to be using it anyways. You know, get real good quality leather.
Well, I've set up accounts with Montana and Tandy. It just seems like a lot of the stuff that's not listed as veg tan has a variety of colors. There's a lot of colors. Most of the veg tans are all kind of natural and brown and
Yeah.
And there's very good reason for that. When you get into your exotic colors, they have to be chromed.
Right.
Because veg tan is all completely natural tanning process, and you can't get those weird exotic colors. Now, if
right.
you want high colors, there is an alternative. You can get raw leather and then get a leather paint, and then you can
Mhm.
paint the sheets of leather, cure it off, and then engrave it, and you'll be just fine.
Okay. It's
You can
paint
use
or is it dye?
It's paint. Well, you can really do it either way. So I've got some processes here. I can actually dye leather just about any color I want. We do all of our leather dyeing here in the shop for the most part. But so you can dye it, but you can also just paint it. It just depends on how solid you want. So like we have some people that are insistent that, hey, I want white leather. Well, there is no process period that you can do to a natural leather to get a natural white leather. The only thing you can do is it's got to be paint. You have to paint the leather. It's the only way you can get it white. But there is a big difference. Now, when I say painted, I'm not talking about taking a can of Krylon to it. You actually need to get actual leather paint.
Yeah.
That actually absorbs into it.
And you use an airbrush to apply, or
You can
Depends on the effect.
Airbrush. Yeah, it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah,
if it's large areas, you may want to use something besides an airbrush.
Yeah, we use a lot of foam roller brushes that have a little canister on them with a little foam roller doohickey. I think they're actually designed for like wedding stamps and stuff like that. But we use a lot of those for painting leather. We do airbrush a lot when we go for an ombre look or trying to get an aged patina on leather. We'll actually go and airbrush the edges of the leather and stuff like that.
Right. And you do that before you engrave and cut?
Sometimes. If I'm going
Okay.
for an ombre look and trying to get an aged leather patch, I'll do my main dyeing first. And it'll be one solid color. And then once I'm all done with that, I'll clean up all the leather. I'll take it out to my airbrush station, line it all up, and then just start spraying the outer edges with the dye. That way they're all roughly consistent. If you try to do this beforehand, trying to get it all lined up with, it's just going to be a pain.
What about this stuff? I bet this works really well for about a week. That kiwi, that's what made me remember that. I remember seeing this stuff, where you just sponge it on your shoes, give it a little buff, and you're ready to go.
So, you laugh, but actually, we've actually had some pretty good success with shoe polish on using that as a dye. But you do have to definitely heat up the leather and heat up the polish to get it to work all the way. Really? Then once you're all the way done, your cleanup process is completely different because you actually will go in there and repolish it with usually like a single drop of water or something like that, just to buff it out.
Cool. Awesome. Well, if anybody's got anything, like I said, just feel free to jump in. Brian, glad you could join us too, man. I like your videos you're popping out. Those are sweet.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. I got someone else doing videos now.
Doing. That's the key.
What kind of videos are you making, Brian? I haven't seen any of them. Where do you go look at them?
www.pornhub. No, sorry, wrong.
You said that right as my wife walked in. It was awesome.
Okay. On that note.
I promise, honey, this is the Thunder meeting.
So what I do is I stream on Twitch because nobody was streaming laser stuff on Twitch. And then I just take those videos and I cut them up and edit them for YouTube and TikTok, which TikTok's where I get most of my views, believe it or not.
So would you look it up under YouTube, under your name?
Wizards of Light.
Yeah, there we go. I'll put a link to it.
Take a look. Yeah, some of that other stuff you talk about, I knew what it is. So YouTube, I know.
Yeah, there it is.
Doing a brown.
All right.
I'll
take a look.
I'll put a link in the chat in case anybody wants it. And on that token, if you have anything that you want that you think would make a good article, or if there's anybody that likes
a light gray and a brown.
I'm gonna get everybody to mute if we're picking up some background noise.
Sorry, that was me.
Oh no, you're good, man. Looking for people that find real joy in technical writing. I want to expand the knowledge base besides just the questions that we get asked. So if anybody has any suggestions, for knowledge based content or wants to participate, shoot us an email because, we like user interaction. That's where we get some of our best stuff. So,
I've got a new software that will write all those articles for you.
You do?
Yep.
Fiverr.com.
Nope. No, I invested for a lot of like our newsletters and all that kind of stuff that we do. I invested in a software that I put in the couple topics and the key points I want to hit, and it turns around and writes the whole article right there on demand. It's all AI driven.
Nice.
Wow.
I remember some old program called Think Tank. I don't know where it came across, but it's kind of like that. You put in some data, and basically you copy stuff out of other publications and paste it in, and it spins it.
Yeah.
So there's 13 words in a row. It
that
doesn't
was
go
all
beyond
database driven. That wasn't AI driven though. That stuff was that's all my wheelhouse there, but that's all database stuff.
Yeah,
There's a company selling a bunch of what they call them Glowforge laser stuff. Will they work with this laser, or is there something special about that? Anybody know?
You talking about the design files?
Yeah, I guess they just call them Glowforge. It just says
Yeah, they'll
Glowforge
work.
laser files.
They're
All
just
they,
vectors.
Yeah,
when
they're
you do that,
DFX or DXF or SVGs.
Unless it's
yeah,
in the Glowforge's format. And I don't know if there's a conversion for that. I don't know if there's people
I
that
don't know.
sell proprietary files.
No, I've only seen them selling the SVGs. But what I was gonna say is, if you see Glowforge when it's talking about materials or files, usually what they mean is it'll fit inside of the bed of a Glowforge, which is tiny. We could fit like 3 of them in the 35 or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, if you go to
they're
3D, let's see what it is. It's 3dwave.us.
So you be careful with a lot of those because there's also like 3daccess.co and all these other ones. And what they are, you have to be really careful with those because a lot of those sites, they're either giving files away for free or selling them really cheap, but they're all copywritten files. And if you get caught using them, you just lost everything that you own.
Yeah, and some of that's salvaged from other ones, and they put big things together. It can be a nasty mess.
They got a lot of ST models there, but that's the name of the company. I don't know if you can bring it up and we can look real quick and then you can answer the question.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
So there's
STL files.
3D printing.
Yeah, now you can convert an STL into a grayscale depth map in like Vector, Aspire, or something like that.
Yeah, but they also have laser files. If you see there at the top, 3D models and laser files. If you click on that, they all say Glowforge. A lot of them.
Yeah, that's referring to that, like he said, that footprint of that Glowforge. It's a lot of times smaller stuff. So.
Oh, okay.
But a vector file is a vector file. At the end of the day, you can pull one in and make it bigger, or make 100, whatever you want to do.
Okay, so it's just the vector files all they are. Okay.
Right. Except the STL, that's a little bit different.
Question about files like this from sites like this, so let's say that you bought one of these. I don't know if it says that it's a commercial license or not, but let's say that it did say that. And then you find out later that, it was actually stolen from somewhere or something. I mean, you bought it on good faith from someone, right? I mean, you would just have to immediately cease and desist. I don't think you'd lose everything as long as you didn't knowingly do the fraud, right?
As long as there wasn't intent there. Yeah, I mean,
so
that sounds right.
The rule of thumb with that is it really depends on the company that owns the copyright on how aggressive they want to be. Obviously, companies like Disney, NFL, those guys, those guys are definitely going to go after you. I hear it all the time. People, they'll never mess with a small guy like me. Yeah, well, talk to the thousands of crafters that they completely put into bankruptcy every single year.
Those are easy. They can push those guys over like nothing. That they don't want to deal with the big boys.
Yep.
So basically, it really just depends on who owns the copyright. Like with our copyright stuff, we're aggressive when we enforce it. Usually, if someone is really nice about it and completely understanding and doesn't argue and fight back and all that kind of stuff, I'll usually just let it go away with a cease and desist. But if they are just complete a-holes about it, then I let my lawyers just sink their teeth into it.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I meant, right? Like if if somebody notified me that, oh, hey, this is copyrighted material and you can't use it anymore, you'd be like, hey, whoa, sorry, I'm done.
I got one from a place. Right? I was spinning RSS feeds out of a newspaper into another site and aggregating them, and I got one of those emails. Hey, you're publishing our content on your site without permission. Oops, I didn't know I was. Which was true because I didn't, I figured it was an open RSS feed.
Right. Yeah. It's on the internet. It's free.
Yeah. All right.
Well, kind of like when my internet got shut down and I had to call. It was Cox at the time, I think, and they tell me, yeah, well, we noticed that someone in your house is streaming a movie that's not been released on DVD yet. So I had to go upstairs. Okay, which one of you? I have 6 kids. Which one of you little, guys doing this.
Yeah. The amount of data they actually collect is insane. They say they don't listen to you all the time, but I was talking to my wife the other day, and yeah, I got little Google things all over the place about my brother-in-law's pan that he brought over. It's an incredible cast iron enameled pot. I found them. They're French, and they're like $400. Yeah, and I want to get one. So we were talking about that, and then this morning in my news feed, guess what?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
well, now you
never
just
do a
double
search
down.
for
So
it.
you can expect more now that you just double down on it, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to get one now. Those are outstanding pieces of cookware. But anyway,
They are. My wife wants one too.
yeah, they ought to be for $400.
No
They
kidding,
ought to be
right?
pretty, they ought to go for you for that.
Yeah, well, what got me was he made something that was really sticky and sweet and caramelized that he let cook in there, and it sat there for like 2 hours. And I ran a little cold water in it, and everything just fell off of it. It was clean. I was like, you got to be kidding me, and it weighs 20 pounds, so I know it cooks evenly, and has a thick bottom. So yeah, I was sold right there.
Ceramic coated cast iron is what they are. Yeah, they're beautiful. But yeah, that's a whole nother subject. I think we can.
Maybe I'll just use his until he get it. So anyway, all right, well, you guys jump in. Like I said, if you have anything at all, or we'll just keep on. So Chris, you got anything good? Any announcements? Any epiphanies? Or say no?
No, not too much. So, 1 second, I'll pull up a little document. The other week, I got to see if I can find it again. We were talking about extend space last time I was on. So, I did some measurements. People may be curious about this. I don't have all the fancy screens that Brian has, so I'm having to flip between tabs. But so on your machine, whenever you're doing that raster engrave or fill, that kind of stuff, your extend space varies greatly with speed. So like at 1,000 millimeters per second, the controller looks for 54.5 millimeters of extend space. If you take that speed down to 250, which is a quarter of it, it only looks for 4 millimeters essentially. So as you set up files, you can use that to create rectangular working windows, because sometimes people complain, well, machine's not running. I hit the start button, not going anywhere. Well, 9 times out of 10 it's extend space error. But as you know how much the machine expects, you can draw your little T1 layer and say, okay, I'm going to go 1,000 millimeters per second. That means my largest window is minus 54 millimeters on both sides of your working space, and then you'll know what your true working area is. Because sometimes what happens if you run a multi-stage job where you've got different engraves and different tasks that you're running at different times, and you start the job, and then the next layer that you bring in is an engrave, and then the machine's like, hey, I can't do that with where you got it positioned. You're kind of left up, the creek without a paddle on that one. You got to start moving it around or changing layer speeds and stuff like that. But I'm still working on my little spreadsheet, trying to figure out what Lightburn's doing, because it's some weird math behind what they're doing to figure out the job estimate time, and then what the real world kinematics are of the laser itself and the little S-curve compensation they put in. So pretty nifty stuff. But
sweet.
Yeah, extends. That's what keeps me up at night.
I've got a quick little PSA for everyone on taxes. They released new tax codes. Now, if you steal something from someone, you have to report that as fair market value. If it's an illegal activity,
not
the end of the
dealing drugs,
not unless you return it.
And if you receive bribes, you have to include it in your income as well now. So those
only
are
if you
tax codes.
Only if you don't return it by the end of the year.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, if you steal something from someone, if you don't return it by the end of the year, you have to claim it as income.
What?
So I guess that means January 1st, steal something and go throw it on their doorstep on December 31st.
Right.
Gonna steal it back the next day.
Make sure you pull it Amazon and take a picture of it so you got proof that you left it there.
That's right.
Well, and I just heard from Jim Schaefer. It looks like he's in the process of battling a stink bug inside of his laser that he tried hitting it with a pulse, and all it did is leave a mark on it and make his whole room stink.
Nice. Got to bump that pulse rate up.
Yep.
Yeah, you vaporize it.
I've had a fly in mine a couple of times, and I just kept hoping it was going to fly through the beam, but it never did.
Question is, would have it
Then
cooked
I
it
got
and it
the
got
bug
black?
light, and I don't deal with them anymore.
So, Brian, what are the correct settings for a stink bug, by the way?
Well, I don't run my laser a lot, so
Can you test that out and get back to me?
no, I don't think I will.
Dynamite.
I was looking to see if there was anything new in the knowledge base, because we've been
stink
doing some
bugs?
stuff in there about stink
bugs.
We're gonna mess with a different training sign up calendar. I think I sent it to one person, Chris, to test and see how it works. I did a test a few minutes ago. You might have seen it, but we'll see how that works. There's a lot of activity in the system, but it's still not a lot of broken things. A lot of the questions are just general stuff, so that's still good. But we're starting to feel it more as we add people. I think, how many did they say they sold last week?
Last month was over 200.
Yeah, 200 in a month.
Yeah.
And so if we're adding 200 new users on a month, and just now starting to feel the pressure a little bit, we must be doing something right. But I need to be scalable. So if you know anyone, I know what I was going to show you. And I did this to cloak it just a little bit. Let's see here. Let me pull it up. Is that the right screen?
PSA, if you haven't backed up your controller settings, back those up, that file. It's an LBST file. You can get it through Lightburn, edit machine settings, back those up.
Yep.
We're looking for people, like I was talking about earlier, who may be interested in technical stuff along this vertical market. And it's kind of hard to find people. And so I'm just going to cast a really wide net, and I put a form out there. So if anybody's interested in that and
what's
doing
the
anything,
advantage?
The advantage of.
So, I mean, is this like an actual job type thing?
Well, no.
Where you get paid, or?
Well, not yet. This is research. This is casting a really wide net and finding people who may go, you know what, I would like to do that, but it's not really a full-time thing. You know what I mean? Just to gauge. Yeah. I'm trying to test the water, because you can't just go to Indeed.com and find a Thunder Laser Tech or something. So.
Right.
Hey, Jim.
We're gonna give that a shot.
We were just talking about your stink bug there.
Yeah, I've had a customer in here.
You had a customer and a stink bug?
No, I just had a customer. It's the reason why I'm late.
Oh, okay.
No, that little sucker lived.
He did?
You need to change your pulse settings to a little bit higher there.
You need to hold him right at mirror 3 and hold him there so he doesn't move and push the button. If it hits your finger, he's dead.
I had him sitting on top of one of those little yellow or orange hold down things. So I moved the laser head right over top of him. I'm like, you're going to die for even being in the laser. And I pulsed him. And oh my God, the stench was, I didn't have the fan on, which was a mistake. The entire shop was absolutely horrible. It was beyond the smell of stink bug times 1,000,000 was actually burning my eyes and my nose. And I was like,
Peter doesn't see this.
He did not move at all. And I'm like, oh, maybe I killed him. So I grabbed something, I poked him, and his little leg moved. And I'm like, really? I'm like, oh, maybe that's a nerve thing. So I'm talking to my wife on the phone. And the next thing I know is he's halfway across the damn board. And I'm like, really? So I put my phone over top of him to see what damage I did. And you can actually see the burn. There's like a little diamond thing in the top of him. You can actually see the burn in him, but it did not penetrate the armor plating on that little bastard.
Wow. You may be onto something. You better make sure it didn't burn out your red dot lens.
Need a
No,
high
it's still
power
there.
laser.
I don't know what my pulse setting's set at, so I didn't really look because I was on the phone, so I don't know what it was. But at any rate, even at 5% or whatever a pulse set would be at, you would think it would have went through him or at least killed him. But no, it just burned his armor plating.
Chitin stuff, tough stuff.
This is
That's
probably
pretty
one of the bugs that'll be alive by the time we're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
That and cockroaches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not like I can't retry it because I've got like 9 million stink bugs in my shop. My cats love them. My cats actually eat them, believe it or not.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I
they
bet
catch and eat them all the time.
Oh, wonderful.
I wonder. Yeah, I bet they taste just like they smell. Like I think a Granddaddy Longlegs tastes like a green Skittles, but just because when you step on one, it's that smell. But cicadas taste like guacamole, just like guacamole, crunchy guacamole. But
Really?
yeah,
we had our
well, actually, just like the avocado, before it's guacamole, really. But
yeah, we had our 17-year
creamy
this year or last year. Yeah, this last year, and out in the Dayton, Ohio, and Cincinnati area, it was getting bombarded. People were making their cicada salads and cicada casseroles and all kinds of stuff because. Oh yeah, dead serious.
Oh my gosh.
They do it. They wait 17. They wait 17 years because there's such a high level of protein. The nutritional value is actually really high in them.
Wow.
And people was like, "Oh my God, it's been our 17 years is up. We can gorge on these things."
Yeah, I remember my first like ant sucker, or chocolate covered grasshopper. So you guys all eat insects too, right? Am I on my own here?
Wow, little off topic.
Hey, I showed up. What do you expect?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so Travis is going to come get us back on board here.
What am I doing? I'm sitting here playing with my lights in my room.
All right, we're doomed. We need an adult.
Good luck.
I thought we were having a light battle, so I decided to change mine too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on now.
I need to get back to our bedroom so I can start playing with mine.
Oh, whoa, TMI.
Wait a minute, that came out right wrong.
Let's just keep it in the shop, all right, man?
Oh.
You sure you want to post this one, Brian?
Yeah, I got it. Dude, I see laser beams shooting onto disco balls and mirrors like circus, like funhouse mirror kind of thing going on. Maybe.
Oh no, I'm sure I see his whole ceiling just being one giant mirror. Now I have those wheels turning.
Yeah.
And the doorbell goes bow chicka wow wow.
I could even.
Is that the Ring doorbell or what is that?
Yeah.
I've even even now with the addition of the laser, I could even engrave those mirrors and put them on the ceiling.
You could. That way you could obscure things. It could be like blurry
do it from the backside.
Things in these mirrors are much smaller than they are, much larger than they appear.
All right. Well,
So
somebody jump in and ask me a laser question. No, we were all in perfect shape until you showed up, and then it just all kind of went down from there. No, not really. So.
No.
So what was the thing he was talking about before I showed up? Or I have to go back and watch it.
I have no idea.
When he said getting paid, and he was talking about some kind of
your
tech support stuff
or something.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to see how many people might be interested in dabbling in that kind of stuff as a contributor or a freelancer, or you never know. So it's kind of difficult. There's a few people that I had thought about, but they already are doing something like that. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of. It's a real niche market kind of for that.
Yeah, we're all real busy.
Yeah. How's your rotaries doing?
Good.
Are you
Hot in here.
caught back up on some of those? I know that you're back ordered because of motors or something. For that was a while back though.
Well, we were motors, and we moved to the new shop, and then staffing issues, but now we're back on track and cooking with
Cool.
Crisco, so we should be back on track here by the end of January. Should have the whole thing caught up. So
Sweet.
Here's my new 40-pound rotary.
I need to make me one of those so I can do the plates and stuff a lot quicker and easier.
Oh, they are so nice, let me tell you. But they are heavy.
Yeah.
So, although I don't know if it would be worth making one of these or not. I picked this thing up for $300 through Richard.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. I want to mess with some rotary stuff and do the inside of some rings on that fiber, but I haven't even turned that machine on in 3 months.
Ryan, you just
Probably.
need to send it here.
Well,
Hey, tech expert on it.
We have some sitting in the US. If anybody wants one.
What's that?
One of the Aurora 20s, the 820.
I got one coming to me.
If you want to send one to me, I'll do a review on it. Compare it against the China import.
Yeah, we kind of got away from giving out lasers because that wouldn't be. I don't know.
You'd have to sell a lot of other lasers to make up for that.
To make up for that one.
Yeah.
But they may be doing some discounts to get them moving, which they're not advertised and they're not on the website, so that's probably why they're not moving.
I was going to say they're probably not moving because no one's selling them.
Travis, that's a yes.
Okay.
My keyboard battery died or something. I can't type.
All right, sounds good.
You'll have to pull up that one and use your mouse and click through it. The on-screen keyboard, if you don't have a touch screen, you can still mouse through it.
Oh, is there an on-screen?
There is in somewhere. I don't know where it is in Windows 10.
I don't know if I'm not technologically advanced.
Yeah, you have to use your keyboard to use the search window to search for your on-screen keyboard.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this.
There's probably a hotkey for it somewhere.
Anybody been brave and went to 11 yet?
Nope. I did on my CNC computer. I don't recommend it.
I'll say, so how bad it is screw you up.
Like we talked about before, it's like just another iteration of Windows 8. It's going to be complete garbage.
Yeah, there's one on my CNC computer. There's one issue when the computer goes to sleep and it wakes back up. It doesn't reconnect any of the USB ports, so nothing works.
That's wonderful.
The tech is there. The tech is there, and it sounds good, but it's like when Windows 8 came out, it was way beyond Windows 7 and all the programs that were running off of it. So the tech is good, but the software and the programs aren't up to par, and the computers as well. Because your computer, if you're running a older computer and you put Windows 11 in there, it's gonna not do good things. It's just not ready for it.
Every other version sucks.
We've had a couple of people I've done remote sessions with that are on 11, and I don't report any specific things because of it. It was just general stuff. It seemed to work at least on those. Donnie, did you say you were running it?
Yeah, I got a new computer, a Surface Studio, and really haven't had too many problems with it.
They're probably on new computers.
Yeah, when I connect to my CNC machine, I know it'll start running the toolpath, and then just about not even halfway through the toolpath, it just shuts off. But I don't know if that's my CNC machine. I got to turn it off and turn it back on and reconnect and start the toolpath over again. But other than that, I haven't really had a lot of problems with Windows 11.
Which controller are you running on your CNC?
I'm using Universal G-Code Sender.
Okay, I'd say because my CNC, I run the X5 Pro controller, And it's been rock solid with Windows 11. Like I said, the only problem I have is when my computer decides to go to sleep. When it wakes back up, all the USB ports are disabled on it.
But did you go in
I haven't had mine go to
and
sleep
turn them
yet,
off?
so I don't know.
Did you go and change the settings so it doesn't allow the computer to turn off the USB ports?
Not yet. I will though, eventually.
That way it can't put them to it won't put them to sleep.
So who else in here has CNCs to go with their lasers?
Ed.
I do.
Oh,
I've got
what
a
kind do you?
4x8 Legacy.
Yeah, what?
A 4x8 Legacy.
Oh, you got a big one. Mine's just a little 5 foot by 5 foot.
EMI.
What brand is it?
Mine is Queen Bee. What is it? Queen Bee Pro.
Okay, I'm running a Shapeoko.
Okay. So Brian, when are you gonna get a CNC in all your infamous time?
I probably won't. That'll just be another one of those cool toys that sit around that I don't ever do anything with. So once I take them apart, tweak them, do all that stuff, then I'm done. I'm done with them because I don't make stuff. I don't know.
Hey Travis.
But I'm
Send me your
starting
info. I had an old Lightning CNC. It used the actual router head. But once I picked up lasers, I got rid of that.
They do some neat stuff, especially the 3D relief is better. It's hard to dial that in on a laser without getting all those striations, and stuff, and you can get a lot smoother.
Well, the V carve function you could do with your ramp effect and stuff on laser. Obviously, it's not as clean, and it's not because a lot of people they want that clean look with no burn marks or anything, and you can't do that obviously with a laser, but you can get the same effect.
John McFadden, who was on a few minutes ago, is tremendous in molding and statues and stuff like that. He's really, really good at that.
I've got an older CNC. I just need to knock the dust off of it. It's actually underneath of a table in my office.
So then what? Put a stink bug on it and try to mill through the back?
Yep.
That would have to work.
If the feed's right, it'll work.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if anybody has any questions, fire away because I'm out of powder for this year, man. Whew. Like for the rest of the year, my brain isn't working. It's been a long
day and a half. So for a day and a half, your brain's not going to work.
Yeah, it needs to decompress.
Travis, which one do you have?
Hold on.
Were they in their own secret meeting down here that we're not privy to?
Well, he's typing and I can't type, so I'm just I'm trying to communicate.
Yes, they are.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Now I can type. I must have scared it.
Yep. Yeah, I have the junior though.
Okay.
So turn of the year, I'm going to start doing our little video training things again. What do you guys want to learn in those?
Oh, I had a whole list of stuff and I forget what it was now. Crap.
Well, you have my information. Just message me.
Yeah.
So most people, it's funny, after these meetings, I'll get like hundreds and hundreds of friend requests. And it's hard to go through and figure out, okay, is this a real person or is this a fake person or whatever? So if you send me a friend request and I miss it, send it again and I'll go through. Because that's usually the easiest way to get a hold of me is through Facebook Messenger.
Yep.
I can't even find you after last week. I was looking for you. Your impact needle.
Brian.
Yes. Hey, man.
Remember we talked about doing photos too. Wonder if we could get into that next year.
I don't know. I think my year's pretty booked up for photos.
No, I'm talking about next year.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I can do one with photos. Photos are easy, especially with the advancements of light burn.
Yeah,
You don't need photograve or any of that stuff anymore.
Did anybody see Robert's comment on the Global Thunder laser users deal from this guy named Daryl? He was talking about he had a Thunder 3580, and Robert told him to get the American Phonox 1.5 lens.
Oh, yeah, the
Has anybody heard
APC.
about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's in between the HR head and the 2-inch, basically. As far as spot size and focal depth and that kind of thing. And it's a good the 2-inch was always kind of classified as the all-purpose, best of both worlds. But a lot of people are using 1.5s, especially for engraving.
All right, my question is on that then. If you're going to use the 1.5 to do engraving, do you use the 1.5 also to cut it out with, or do you have to switch?
It depends on the thickness, but yeah, I'd say a 1.5-inch lens would cut almost as thick a stuff as a 2-inch would. Matter of fact, I think your focal plane isn't there, your focal depth, but your beam density is higher, and there's less kerf, less waste. That's why I like cutting 1/2-inch stuff with my 2-inch lens as opposed to using a 4. The nozzle's closer to the material. The beam is half the size, the kerf is half the size, generate half the smoke, and get more beam density. So kind of the same thing with the 1.5 inch, as compared to the 2-inch. You can probably cut through most anything with it. You just focus into the material a little bit.
That's what I was thinking about, not just photos, but also like Christmas ornaments next year.
Yeah.
When you go in and do your engraving and stuff, and once you get through engraving, then you cut it out. So do you use the same? That's what I guess what I'm trying to say.
You can cut. Yeah. I'd say you'll definitely be able to cut stuff that thin, with 1.5 inch. Yeah.
Yep. So the only thing to watch out for is depending on what the wattage is of your laser. Like on my 130, if I run an 1.5 inch lens and try to do photos, I'm blowing clean through the material. There's no way to save it from that. So I'll actually go clear to a 2.5 inch lens when I'm doing photos on my 130.
I got a 100.
Yeah, so you would want to play around with that. 100's getting kind of high to do photos with an 1.5 inch lens. You're just concentrating that power. So I mean, you're talking about a 25% increase on power, roughly thereabouts. So if you're already doing photos down at 10%, well, you're kind of hosed. You can't go much lower than that.
Right. But
same with the HR head. That does it even more. The HR head is twice as powerful as the 2-inch as far as beam density goes.
Oh, but it cuts metal so nicely.
Yeah, it does. Razor blade even.
Yep.
But anyway.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
This machine that I got here was pulled on a U-Haul trailer from Indiana, and I haven't really gotten yet to alignment just to check. I tried to do it this morning, and I'm curious. I've used a couple of different kinds of blue painter's tape, and I tried duct tape. It bursts into flames every time I do a pulse. I'm curious.
You got to turn your minimum power down. You got to turn your power down on the controller. See, on the controller, on the laser controller, in the very top right-hand corner of that Ruida HMI, there's a speed and a power. Well, that speed is the speed that you jog with when you're manually jogging the laser from the control panel, and the power is the pulse speed for that pulse button. So you can hit your power button while you're exited all the way out. Hit your power button and change the power setting up there lower to something like 10, 12, 15, whatever it'll fire at. Just not hit it. Yeah.
Okay, so you adjust the power on the controller, not through the Lightburn software.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, have you fired it first? I mean, have you tried to cut anything even?
I have.
Or
I have.
Okay. So there's a reason you're going through the alignment because you think it could be better? Is that?
Yeah, well, plus, like, I didn't check it. I figured I would help, familiarize myself with the mechanics of the machine. And I started watching the House of Lasers guy has a pretty comprehensive, video about it. And right off the bat, I started.
That one I took off the page because he uses the red dot. Second step in is follow the red dot the rest of the way. And in practice, that kind of works, but you got to remember the red dot's coming from a totally different direction and a totally different source than your actual laser beam. It's just a visual aid. It doesn't accomplish anything. So if you use your red dot to align yourself through there, it may not be correct for the CO2, pulse the tape and burn part. So I would pay attention to the factory one that you do the CO2 beam alignment and get it perfect, and then you walk the red dot into that beam to center it on the beam.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That's the one with the subtitles and the.
It's a little more painful to use that video, but especially if you're experiencing a problem. If somebody knocked their mirror out of whack, 9 times out of 10, Chris's video was fine. They could see, the red dot is showing a little off, and you can twist it a little, and boom, everything comes back. But from a diagnostic standpoint, if you're saying things like, oh, it's not as powerful in this corner as it is in this one, or it seems like it takes more power to cut through the same material now than it did yesterday. If you're seeing those kinds of things, you don't want to do that first quick and easy one. You want to go through the full alignment where you do the CO2 all the way to the nozzle first, and then walk the red dot in at the very end of the step.
Yep.
Okay.
And if you want to do full alignments, there's 2 tools that I highly recommend. One of them is made by APC. It's the reverse alignment tool. So instead of starting at the tube and working your way mirror 1, 2, 3, this is a laser that goes right in your nozzle, and it runs it backwards. And that way you are taping at your actual tube and running the whole alignment process backwards.
Yeah. Now, with that said, that is a neat tool, and I have it. I tried it on the K40 and a Gravograph and my Thunder. And when you cinch that thing down, it's got that flat edge on it, and it goes over to the edge. It's eccentric again when you tighten it down. At least that's what I found on those. But
the new ones are a little different. The new ones actually screw into the bottom, and then you actually have to buy the specific size
correct
tube.
Adapter. Okay.
Yeah. So they actually hold it true. Okay. Yeah, you are right. On the older ones, they did have that issue.
Okay.
The other tool, and I don't remember who makes it, and I wish I could remember because I've been trying to find them. It is an adapter that it screws on where your lens normally would go, and it has a crosshair wire built inside the actual adapter, so you can actually see if you're shooting dead center down your tube. And so I wish I could find that thing again because the thing was amazing. It was only like $9. But that's a really good one to have, just to make sure that once it hits mirror 3 and comes down, that it's hitting that dead center right in the middle of everything. So it splits your laser into 4 quadrants, so you can actually see where that wire was blocking it, and you are actually measuring the quadrants around it to make sure that they're all the same size.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen the reverse alignment tool.
Yeah, but if you find the one with the crosshairs, let me know, because I've been trying to remember who made it, and I can't remember to save my life.
Okay.
Sweet. Well, it's almost that time. We got like 2 minutes, and I think since there's a lull, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording before I forget.